Well, Nigel Owens and Wayne Barnes have both been picked for their fourth World Cups. And there's a second Premiership referee on the list. Luke Pearce will be packing his bags for his first World Cup. And he joins us on the line right now. How are you?
Hi there, how are you?
Hey Luke, just talking about you, thanks for coming on. But you were in me top three. You were second in terms of referees. I don't know if you heard us talking about you, but mate, thanks for coming on the show.
Well, just describe second of what, Jim? What was he in the top three?
I said you were in the top three best looking referees out there, Luke.
There we go. That's more like it.
Exactly.
Goody, what was it used to call me on the training pitch at Worcester again?
Tom Daly lookalike. Yeah. I've already said it on here, so don't worry about it. But yeah, you're right. He looks like a 16-year-old boy as well. So yeah, carry on.
Hey Luke, mate. Well, it's good to have you on the show. Happy about the World Cup selection, if you like, just tell us a little bit about how that goes. So do you know, is it like a player, like the selection process, you know you're in for a shot and then you get the call? Just tell us how that works.
Yeah, so we were told a couple of weeks ago from Alan Roland, the head of World Rugby Refs, that we were told the selection, who's going and who's not. We've obviously been working as a team for the last few years now, actually, and you get whittled down from probably a pool of 20, and it slowly goes down and down, and we always knew that they would take 12 refs to Japan and 7 ARs, and you just hope that you were in the mix of it once it came to Six Nations time and get through that without any major train smashes and hope that you stay in the mix then for selection for the World Cup. So that's how our kind of selection process works. But yeah, it's a hell of a relief, and yeah, delighted to be on the plane in September.
Oh mate, it'll be quality. But like, just going back to that, so how do they grade you? Do they give you, is it a point system in terms of how you stay within selection? Just a little bit more kind of detail on that would be interesting. What's interesting?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how we're graded. We've got an online review system which we have to complete after every game. But for World Rugby, especially, there's a selection committee of 4 or 5 senior figures and ex-coaches and bits like that. So I think they make the decisions at the top, and we find out based on selection for each of the windows. So we knew that after November, after the Autumn Internationals, that if we were to be part of the World Cup, that we had to get a Six Nations game. So that was the first nervy thing, and then it was just coming through the Six Nations and hoping you stayed in the mix then for contention for the World Cup.
And we'll come to the Wasps not forward pass in a minute.
I knew you were going to mention that.
I know. Well, we'll come to that later on, but I just want to, obviously it's you and Barnesy as the 2 English refs going out there. We know it's your first World Cup. It's Barnesy's last World Cup. We know he's sort of hanging up the whistle at some point after the World Cup at this time. Just tell us a little bit about him, because he's a great character as well, isn't he? And you know, with him perhaps retiring, you'll be the best referee in England, won't you?
Well, we'll see about that. You're only as good as your last game, and like you just mentioned, the forward pass. So we'll go on to that in a second. But no, I know it's something Wayne's obviously been speaking and thinking about in the past. I'm not sure he's made any actual firm decisions about when he's going to hang up the whistle, but you know, he's a very experienced guy, a really good guy to have working alongside, and he's done all the biggest games in the world, and will hopefully go on to do the final should England not be in the World Cup final in Japan. So to work alongside someone like that and share all his experiences is invaluable, especially when you're coming through the ranks and you have the highs and lows of the referee, and it certainly helps working alongside him.
Well, he was in my bottom 3, if that helps. In terms of, just because Goody said he's got out of a bush, I don't know where that's come from. But
I'm not saying a word. I've got to go to the RPA dinner with him this evening, so I'm not saying a word.
Well, don't tell him I said that, mate. I know he's an avid listener. Just carrying on the kind of theme of the World Cup and obviously the refereeing style. Goody gives the French referees a lot of stick. I don't see it myself. I understand parts of it, but they've got 4, so they've got obviously a lot more than the other nations. What's the reason behind that? Do you know that? Are they deemed to have the best referees in the world, or how does that work?
I'm not entirely sure why the numbers are that they are, but if you look at the 4 French refs, they're all of extremely high quality, and obviously each rugby is different, so you only got to look at the top 14, and Goody will know far more about it than I do, but you know, it's a totally different style, and it's refereed slightly different as well. So I don't think there's a real comparison on numbers as such. I know the RFU and Spreaders, who's my boss, was very happy to have 6 of us going in some capacity to Japan, and if we can increase those numbers for 2023, then all the better.
And then just for people that don't know, obviously people look at referees You turn up at the weekend, you referee the game, and to our fans and our listeners, they think that's obviously the biggest part of your week, but they don't know what else goes into being a referee. So just give us a bit of insight into what it's like being the top referee and what your week looks like as a working week, because you're all full-time pros now, aren't you?
Yeah, so we're at Twickenham every Premiership round. We're in Twickenham Monday and Tuesdays. So we come in for 2 days. We have a day of training and reviewing on the Monday. We then have a wrap-up meeting on the Tuesday morning where we just get clarity from the boss and the coaches of what decisions went well, what didn't go so well, why they didn't go so well, and what we can learn for the following weekend. And that's, really important for us. And I remember when I started this job 9 years ago that we would meet up every 3 weeks, and we'd get no real clarity between all 5 of us as it was back then. But no, it's come on leaps and bounds, and now it's the same as I think a team environment. When we train together, it's pretty competitive, and and we have that kind of camaraderie between us, knowing that we're going to get some things wrong on a weekend, and coming in on the Monday and Tuesday and chatting over with the lads and having dinner together on the Monday night can help solve those problems for the following week. So that's Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday, Thursday then are normally down days, if not in with a club somewhere. And then obviously winding back up for Friday, Saturday or Sunday, depending where you are with travel. I live in Exeter, so it's a bit of a trek to most places. So it normally involves heading off the night before and trying to get back as soon as possible normally. And
then just on that, so you're in Exeter, living in Exeter. What's your address so we can send people around there just in case? No, I'm joking. Are you allowed to? Are you allowed to referee Exeter in Exeter, or do they look at things like that, or not so much?
Yeah, it's interesting. I refereed Exeter for the first time 2 years ago when the LV Cup was about. So I refereed Exeter against Cardiff, I think it was, and that was my first kind of incident refereeing my local team, if you will. But the game's changed, the job's changed. I'm very rarely at Exeter now, so the same as Barnsley referees Quins, the same as even JP Doyle refereed Ireland a few years back. We're paid professionals to do a job. I think it's kind of irrelevant then who you actually referee as such.
And that first Exeter game that you refereed, just to clarify, Exeter won it by 70 points, didn't they?
I can't remember the score, Goody, but I do know is...
I was there, I was working, I remember it.
All I do know is that when I refereed Exeter v Wasps a couple of weeks ago, it was a bit awkward doing a Q&A with Rob Baxter the following week.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I bet it was. What I wanted to ask is a little bit the pressures that you guys feel. I think you look at any sport, you look at probably football especially, but the kind of stick that referees get, and we've spoken about it now, for me, commentating on games or watching rugby, it's significantly easier passing judgment than having judgment passed on yourself. But how do you find that pressure being, a young referee coming through the system if you have made a mistake at the weekend? Are you on social media? Do you look at the backlash? How do you kind of deal with that side of it?
No, I think to be a referee, you got to have thick skin anyway. You got to be able to take criticism, and that's part and parcel of the job. Obviously, with the game becoming bigger and bigger now worldwide, that opens up to more criticism, and you just got to get used to it. There's no problem in being critiqued. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and social media has just enabled that even further. So, we always have a kind of thought process in Twickenham that spreaders would prefer us not to be on social media, but if we choose to, then we open ourselves up for the praise alongside the criticism. And if you're able to take that, then you can be on it. It's not a problem. But yeah, it's part and parcel of the job. If you couldn't take the flak, then you shouldn't be in refereeing. But that's just the nature of the job.
And talking of criticism, here we go, Goody.
Well, no, it's not criticism. Obviously, I was watching the Bath Wasps game at the weekend. Now, It actually wasn't your decision, was it? It was Kitty's in the truck, wasn't it? For the forward pass.
We made a bit of a hash of it, in all honesty. So, as the potential try of the season was running through, Hamish smells my AR is in line and calls it live and calls a forward pass, and I don't particularly agree with that at the time, so I choose to review it with the TMO. And once you stick anything on a TV screen and show replays, then of course you open up massive debate. If I'd have just given it live, then perhaps it wouldn't have been so. So, yeah, look, it's one of those decisions. I can fully understand why people might not think it's forward. There are a couple who think it is, but I get it. And sometimes you make decisions and you've got to lead from the front. And if they're deemed to be wrong, then you've got to take the rough with the smooth.
So you're saying it wasn't a forward pass? Oh no, I agree, mate. It wasn't. Let's another big decision that you've made this year, and it's a really tough one for referees at the minute, in terms of the public perception and also what you're being asked to referee by World Rugby. Was the Zach Holmes red card in the quarter-final?
Yeah.
Letter of the law, you're dead right. How hard is it for you now to referee some of these things when potentially you might not feel that you want to give a red card, but you have to for the tackle laws as they stand at the minute?
Look, I think obviously we cover the foul play and tackle topic weekly anyway in our meetings and alongside the European Cup as well. But we all know as referees that a red card is huge and it changes the outcome of the game normally significantly. So we're not going to give them the lightheartedly, and a lot of work goes into thinking what we see and what we think is a red card. We all know that we're trying to reduce the height of the tackle, and that's been widely, announced in the media to try and decrease the amount of concussions and injuries and the advert for the game. And we've got to back that up by making sure that we sanction the illegal tackles correctly. Now, obviously, we're going to get a bit of flack early doors, and I think word is getting around now that what we see as acceptable and not. Of course, we're going to get tackles like the Zach Holmes one. Is he dipping? Is he not? How much is a dip? Where do we go for a yellow card? And those ones will always be open for debate. And all we're trying to do here is just reduce that height of the tackle. And in a couple of years' time, if we get there, it'll be job done.
Yeah, definitely. It's a little bit of a minefield at the minute. I definitely think, watching it now, there's been a change in terms of the empathy there. But I wanted to ask as well, isn't it true that there's an award amongst the referees behind closed doors that goes for the worst decision of the season for a bit of a laugh? Is that true? Can you tell us who's got it at the minute?
I'm not sure who the current holder is, but I know if I win it again, I'll keep the trophy. So in my 9 years, I've won it a couple of times. Hopefully this year won't be the one for me, but we'll see come the end of May.
And then just talking about, going back to we like to hear a bit more about referees. You talked about training as a team, all this stuff. We give each other banter on here. Jim thinks he was the best trainer, the best player, the best everything.
One off.
Oh, I knew I was fucking horrendous at times. But just give us an insight. Who's the best trainer? Who's the worst trainer out of the referees?
Interesting question. This the boys will kill me if I slag to any of them off. I'd say Tom Foley's a pretty hard trainer. He's get him on the watt bike and he'll smash any of us on there. Barnsley, for his age, considering he's a few years older than us, is still giving it his all and is probably in the best shape now than he's ever been. I don't know who the worst trainer is. I'm not quite sure who to answer it. But...
Goody will give it to a French ref, so that's all I know. Either way.
Luke, as far as characters on the field go, what was it like to referee Jim and Goody?
I tell you what, Goody was good fun, and obviously I got a pretty up to speed review from Goody on the field whenever I made a mistake.
Yes,
but it was always a laugh, and I think
any particularly memorable reviews.
I think the more characters we keep like Goody and Jim in the game, the better, and then we don't want the game to become sterile. And I hope that's being shown with us on field now. I remember refereeing Jim in the game in America, in New York, was it London Irish and Sarries? And I think he came off the bench there. And
of course he did. Of course he did. Of course he came off the bench.
Yeah, they put out the second team there, didn't they? We had about 20 pints in the lead up to that. That's why.
I do have one last question. How often do you fake tan, or is it all real, or is it
genuine story? It's real. I've got an 8-month-old puppy who I walk and I play golf a bit. So the boys are giving me all kinds of shit since the comments on BT the other week. But it's genuinely real. And hopefully it's only going to get darker as the summer comes on.
Yeah, sunbeds.
Luke, I think you look great, mate. I think you look great.
Cheers, Jim.
Thanks, Luke.
Cheers, pal.
Thanks very much. Cheers, lad.
Cheers for coming on, mate.
Top bloke.
Top lad.